just do the audio so my mom can hear it. She's 91, but she's still rocking, so I gotta hear the audio. And so that being the goal, to become an expert interviewer, is quite a lofty goal. Now, does anyone think they're like really, really good at interviewing right now? Because took me like 10 years, took me a long time. You guys like pretty good? Yeah, how about a pretty good? We got a pretty good interviewer? Not bad. So-so, okay, at least so-so. How about a so-so? So-so, okay, good. Because it's not easy, especially if you haven't had that many jobs, right? So some of us only had like 1 or 2 jobs. Some of us only had jobs that maybe you didn't even have to interview for. But they're coming, these tough questions are coming at you. And we gotta be prepared, and that's what we're gonna do today. Here's a little interesting anecdote and real life behavioral interview question. I had a neat young man staying at our house, a friend of mine's who is a filmmaker. It was her little brother. He's 26. He lives in Mexico City. He's a venture capitalist, and we were talking about behavioral interview questions and what I'm doing down here. And he goes, "Oh, you had many tough ones?" He goes, "Oh, yeah, one of the toughest ones of my life." All right, welcome. He said, "I had one of the toughest ones of my life just last week." The first question in the interview, they said, "Tell me what your tell me your number one professional insecurity." I promise we won't have to do that one today. It's a pretty hard one, right? And then he also had another tough one. They said, this is interesting, especially for venture capitalists. They said, "Tell me an opinion that you have that's completely different from any one of in your peer group, and why that opinion could be a great business opportunity." And that's kind of hard too, because often the peer group has like-minded. And he actually had a pretty good answer for that one. He didn't tell me about the professional insecurity answer, but he said in that one, he said, "I think that travel is going to be, in many years from now, it's going to be out of fashion, basically. That people are going to be very concerned with carbon footprint, and they're not going to brag about flying to Paris for their big travel, because they're going to be over time, and who knows, it might be 20 years from now, it might be sooner, it might be longer, and that there'll be shorter distance travel, and that people will not be making such a big carbon footprint." I'm like, "Well, what was your business idea?" And he's like, "Didn't really have that." I go, "Airstreams. You could have just said Airstream after that. You know, the local travel. You get your campers," which, as you guys know, during the pandemic, those sales went through the roof, and if you had a camper that was worth, 75 grand, you could have sold it for 130. And I have one, and it was like people were trying to buy it from me. I'm like, no. I gotta take that to the next concert. Hire a driver responsibly and do the right thing. So these questions are coming at you in no time like the present to practice, right? Because they're not easy. Oh, I'm sorry, this hat, we're not gonna wear it today, but in the last 205 class, we had a little talk about, and thank you for putting up with me 2 classes in a row, my gosh, about happiness and success, and it was like a journey. So we had a little Indiana Jones theme going there, and it was quite a journey, and I researched that topic for a long time, but stay in touch and I'll send you the presentation if you want, but it was kind of fun. All right, so that's what we're gonna go through today. Here's a quote that this woman in the Department of Education said. It's like all about the skills. It's not just, you're gonna get the piece of paper maybe in like a week and a half or so, most of you, right? That's right. By the show of hands, how many people are going on to further education, like graduate school after this? And how many are going out to the real world? Sorry, the real world's like now too, so okay, neat. So, and how many are graduating this coming weeks? Okay, so most, not all, okay. So a mixed group, but this is still very applicable, if you ask me. And the neat thing is what this woman was saying, that, hey, employers, business people like myself and others should be collaborating with the students, and so they have the skills. The good news is you have the skills. This class has helped you. Your other classes have helped you. And employers are collaborating with you. Businesses are. This is like really important, because when you're going out into that big world, you're actually competing with other schools, whether it's a Cal Poly, a UC Irvine, a USC, some prestigious Stanford person might be vying for the same job that you are. You're gonna outflank them, outwork them between all the learning that you've done in leadership class, our previous talk about heart-led leadership, and other stuff. You're just gonna outflank them and probably get exactly what you want. And your practice with behavioral interview questions. You've probably heard this term before. This is one you wanna repeat to yourself like all the time. You keep preparing. It meets opportunity. Boom, things happen. Okay, so here's what we're going to do today. We're going to review, because we did it kind of quickly last time, a behavioral interview, because remember my last talk was about readiness, right? And we talked about being ready for the next step. And we talked just briefly about behavioral interview questions. So we're going to dive in today. We're going to recap what this STAR method is. You're not going to have to memorize it or become a robot during your interview and not be yourself or genuine. But we're gonna reference it, and then we're gonna talk about how to use this amazing amount of time that you spent in this leadership minor. Let's use it to your advantage, more than a footnote on a resume. But then we're gonna talk a little bit about this book that I've been reading lately. Cool title, right? Lose the resume, land the job. So I'm like, does that mean we don't need resumes anymore? It doesn't, but it means the importance of the resume is really like 10% of the entire process of getting that great job. And it's 90% the interview. Some people think that the resume is like everything. It's important. You don't want to have, misspellings or an exclamation point on it or anything like that. You want to do it right, and then you want to make sure the interview goes the best it can. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So how are we doing on the pairing? So we had a couple people came in. You guys are okay? Just one person came in? Okay, cool.
Aeon also came in. So if you guys want to be partners, or if you want to go over here, I can be the other side. Whatever's easier.
Okay. So I was going to be a partner. But, okay, cool. So you might be late, but you're not alone. Okay. We're a team here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how this STAR method. You guys probably read about that. Did anyone spend more than 2 minutes reading what Dr. Gates said? I'm not going to be offended because I didn't ask you to read it. 2 minutes reading what Dr. Gates said? Or more than 2 minutes? Show of hands. All right, that's okay. How about 3 to 5 hours? I would say you got to get a life then if that was the case. My goodness. My goodness, that was a trick question. All right, so let's so we're gonna talk about the STAR method, and then we're gonna break into our groups, and then one person's gonna role play as being the interviewer. You gotta make it kind of real, right? We're gonna have to spread out into this room. We might have to move a few chairs around, Morgan, maybe we can to get more space, or we'll just use the chairs and go into the little areas. We can go all the way up here, everything, so we can have a little bit of privacy for this confidential interview. And then so we'll role play, and then we'll reverse it, like you'll be the boss, and then you'll be the candidate, and then we'll switch it, and then we'll talk about you as the interviewer, the boss. We'll ask you, hey, how did Drew do? Did he dribble off his foot, or did he actually follow the right approach? And weave in the leadership minor into the chit-chat in a really authentic, genuine way. And then I'll show you kind of the answer to these questions. So we're going to do that 4 times. All right, so here's this STAR method, right? So probably the most important thing on this slide is those 3 lines in the upper left and on the far right. So think of this method as a framework. This is you just telling a story, but telling a story in an organized fashion, right? You're going to talk about the situation you had. So when they ask you a behavioral interview question, you're going to have to recap. You're going to have the story categorized in your head. You're going to have a series of stories in your head, like a walking library, that you're ready for these questions. Remember in that email we sent out, it had 15 behavioral interview questions. Chances of you getting one outside of that, you might get one, but you're going to get a lot that are right in that area. So you'll have your little story for each of those. Or soundbite, as my daughter who's graduating from USC, terrible school, good now, I didn't like it. She had 7 behavioral interview questions that Jen asked her. And Fortunate for her, she had her father's training, which she hated every minute of it, and she got the job. And then so you're going to talk about the situation, and talk about really what was the big task or action, and then you're going to go and describe the results. So think of this as a framework that you're kind of going through your storytelling process with. And by the way, the storytelling is about a minute or a minute and a half. This is not a 5-minute story where the interviewer knocks their head on the table because they are bored out of their mind with your answer. Right? So you have to keep their attention. So that's probably the number one faux pas, that people talk too long on one question. And then you can always say, do you want me to elaborate further? Chance of them saying yes, pretty slim. But maybe, they'll say, oh yeah, please tell me more. And how did you use what you learned in your next challenge or something like that? But most of the time they'll say, no, that was great. Thank you for keeping it short, because the last person that was in here went on and on and on, and they're not getting the job. So notice how in this example, we wove in some of the skills I've learned in my leadership minor. They may not even have picked up, probably did on the resume, because they look for keywords on the resume. There's actually AI that's used now to scan resumes. And they'll maybe your resume will come to the top because of this leadership minor. Guarantee it, it's a keyword in the keyword search world. And then, but now, just in case they forgot it, you might just weave it in tactfully. And I learned this in the leadership minor. And then they may say, oh, tell me more about the leadership minor. And remember, we talked about that, I think, last time, right? We did. We talked about you have to have an answer, like, that's in your catalog. You're just like a walking catalog, you are, with your answers. You're ready to go. If I see you on the sidewalk, say, hey, tell me about the stressful time you had on one of your jobs. And you can stop. Let's role play right now. If I see you by the student union or something. And ideally, you have an answer. And so they're coming. And then ideally, if they go further and they see that leadership minor, then you can go on about it, and then you'll have your answer, which may be separate to the actual question that was asked. Okay? Does that make sense? Now, boy, you have a lot of things that you could weave in. Notice I said weave and feather some of it in. A genuine method, totally authentic, conversational. These are some of the things that you've learned in this class, or in this minor. This is impressive. Trust me. I mean, remember I told you how many interviews I've conducted? Anybody remember? Over 1,000. 1,000. I went to interview school, like how to conduct an interview. 1,000. I'm older than you think. And when you're in high tech especially, you're hiring a lot of people because you're growing in most cases. Some of the companies I worked for had exponential growth. We were hiring like crazy. We would have mass interviews at one company at the beginning of the manufacturing world. And then in the software business and high tech, there's just a lot of turnover, and there's a lot of growth. And so I've conducted a ton. So just trust me when I say these are like really, really cool skills that you have developed that you will weave into interviews as you see fit. And you start to differentiate, because you know how many CSUs have a leadership minor? I think how many CSUs are there? It's like 30, I think. 25 or 30. How many do you think have a leadership minor besides San Diego State?
5.
If that's a guess, right? I think it's only one.
What?
No, I know it's only one. Now, by your reaction, I guarantee it's one, because I looked it up exactly, and then I asked Dr. Gates that too, and not that I was double checking her, but I did just look it up this week, and it's in like Modesto. I never can pronounce the name. Stan Laus.
Oh,
Stan Laus. Yeah, part of the Stan Laus people, but I think they call it Stan anyway. So that must mean everybody has problems. One, and you guys have it, and you're number 2, and you're like kind of big dog compared to, like, I didn't even know what that was. I'll due respect to them. I looked it up near Modesto, if you don't know. And so are you going to weave it in? Just show me, raise your hand if you're going to weave in the leadership minor into your interviews. Oh, right, tiny, perfect. Okay. Thank you for coming. Thank you for weaving that leadership minor into the interview. So, especially with these type of skills, right? And you'll find a way to make it conversational, not to go over the top. Like, did I tell you I was in the leadership minor? I mean, you'll read it properly, but you will not forget it. I'll have to track you down and make you role play forever and ever. Okay. So now we're going to do this, right? One person's going to be the interviewer. One's going to be the interviewee. We're going to have a time frame of about a minute 20, maybe minute 30, because these aren't the longest. And by the way, I went to like this is like, here's an answer, and I timed it myself. If you said all those words, like I wouldn't expect you to say them all because it's got to be your words, right, and conversational. That takes 1 minute and 20 seconds to say those words if you're talking pretty slow, not as fast as I'm talking right now. So when you got to think a little bit, and you're going to ask the question, and then you're on the spot, and we're not going to make it too long. It's not an essay on your life. It's a behavioral interview question. So we're going to, as I said, one person is going to be the interviewer, the interviewee, and then when we're done, I'm going to ask the interviewer to please tell me about how you did, right? And then if you think they could do something better, you may deliver some constructive criticism with love, is what I call that, CCM. So you say something nicely about how they could be better. And remember, I used that word in class last week, that love in this case is really a genuine or authentic concern for others, right? So when I say I love these students, I love you guys, I have a genuine, authentic concern for you. So when you deliver constructive criticism with love, you can do that, or you can just say the positive, either way. Okay, so here's our first question. I'm gonna leave this up, so we're gonna pair up. I think we should kind of move around a little bit. Get ready to finish, and there you go. You're finishing like about now. Do you feel rushed on that answer? First of all, does anybody feel rushed, or do you think that was enough time?
I think it was enough time, but I was a little nervous.
Yeah, this is a big job, and I want you to blow it. Yeah. Did anyone else think you were, so you thought it was a little short on time?
Maybe like 30 seconds more would have been good for me.
Okay, but studies would say that was too long. Good for you, bad for the interviewer. I mean, I actually researched this before I came, like, how long, should a behavioral interview answer take? So most people don't want to hear 2 minutes. That was really a minute 22. So,
coming up with a perfect story.
You did?
No, I'm saying coming up with the perfect story.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty. It's like you catalog a few in your head, and then maybe it's an offshoot of it. Because we talk about, a stressful time, and then you might divert that to, the question's actually a customer service problem. But really, you have in your catalog, I have the perfect answer for when I was stressed. And then you're just going to kind of shift it, and it's not fabricating if you kind of like expand a little bit. You don't want to say, I was the vice president of retail for Best Buy. That's fine. I don't want to do that. So let's see. I'm just going to like randomly call in somebody who was the boss and can, you're here to the right. Were you the interviewer?
Yes.
Okay. How'd you do?
Oh wait, I interviewed her.
Yeah. Okay. So you're the boss. Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you?
No, she was really great. I think she had it very structured, and she also, not only when it says like how did you manage the pressure, that's when she brought about her strengths, and she was like, I use time management skills and my organizational skills. So I think those are really great, like
I love that.
organization. So
Did you share an experience when you had it? Did you talk about
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
she-
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Great work. She got the job probably, right?
Probably,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Probably. Unless her competition is, no, I'm kidding. So, let's go over here. Who was the boss?
I was also.
All right.
So Drew did a really good job of working in a lot of like what he has done as a leader, and like what he was balancing when he was dealing with a lot of stress. I think one thing I could definitely tell, your mind is working at a mile a minute, both in your answer and in your body language. Like you just wanted to say so much, and like had so much to say that even the 1 minute 30 you felt wasn't enough. But I think you did a really good job of like keeping it succinct and packing a lot of substance in there.
Beautiful, succinct, key word. And notice the nervousness and try to manage that. Here's an important question. Did he weave in the key words leadership minor? Oh. By the way, we got to go back. Did you get the leadership minor in there?
No.
All these hours. Dr. Gates.
I was thinking school, but.
Okay, that's okay. Hey, by the way, this is why we're practicing. All right? And remember, just because it's on your resume, that's impressive. Doesn't mean that they remembered it. They might have forgot. They were like, oh, we're going to talk to them about the leadership minor, and then they might have forgotten. Okay, one more person. Let's see. How about you two right here?
So I was the interviewer, and I think at the beginning it was a little bit vague because you were trying to come up with the story, so it was like a little bit like, But I really liked how towards the end you kind of like elaborated into a process as to like, these are the steps that I took, this is why I took each of those steps, and this was the kind of like general outcome that I had. So like towards the end I can definitely see like there's like structure, you don't get overwhelmed, that you rely on that teamwork kind of aspect to it. So yeah, I'd say like it was a really nice answer.
And then I got to ask you the same question. It's okay if you didn't do it because your peer group didn't either. Did he mention the word leadership minor? Oh my gosh. Okay, so.
My partner did.
Oh, right. Advocating for the partner. That's noble. I love it. Okay, so here's kind of the big answer, right? So this is, matter of fact, I created this myself, right? So you talked about your situation. Yeah. So I worked at a restaurant, which many of you probably have. You probably had a cranky manager. And then, notice I said it was her. And then I said, we take great pride in our work and our delivery, but it was a very stressful day. So remember, you had to like summarize the situation, right? So they're asking you, tell me an experience, share an experience. You can't just blow past that and just talk about yourself, right? So I'm so glad you guys nailed that, right? And then, my task was basically to reduce it, get back on track. And then I remember this, and then notice the red here, what I learned in my leadership minor. Oh, and then notice how I wove in the Microsoft Challenge, which by the way, is super, super impressive what you guys did. I know it was hard, probably a pain in the butt at times, maybe not as fun as you thought, but resume and experience-wise, it was really worth every painful step that you might have taken. Because when you talk about, I was a college student and I helped a corporation, a Fortune 50 corporation, by the way, with some challenges they had in the workplace. This is what you guys did. It wasn't like life or death that you were going to make Microsoft succeed or not succeed, but it was a real world problem, and you guys rolled up the sleeves and worked on it. And if I'm that, think about that, if you're that interviewer, that potential boss, you are impressed. Like, you actually basically worked in a corporate environment, in a true business environment. This is awesome. I want to hire someone with experience. You're almost basically a mini intern for that period of time, right? Technically, it is like an internship. It's just a slice of it. So weaving that in. So here I collaborated with Microsoft employees. It was pretty intense. So now you're kind of describing how it was intense, right? You're not lying. And then we shared it with people, and then they were happy. Remember, I didn't go into like what we did at Microsoft, that we had to do career succession. Remember that? I think that was one of the things you guys did. I'm not in the weeds on that. I went high level, Microsoft, collaborated, stressful, and then we worked through it, nailed it, they thanked us. That's it, boom, and you're out of there. That's 90 seconds. So, and then they lived happily ever after. Oh, yeah, I love this part. So then you can tell them that, I was so cool in the cockpit. That's kind of one of my favorite terms. Like, I was cool, and it was stressful, and then we laughed at the end, and I raised the spirit of the people around me. Without being, too braggadocious. I mean, it's like, yeah, I figured out how to, reduce the stress, got this, made a laugh, brought the performance up around me. I'm very proud of it. I mean, you're proud of your answer.
So I have a question about that. When in an interview, you're trying to sell yourself, but how do you try and manage so you don't sound like you're bragging too much? Like, I feel like they ask you, like, oh, why should we hire you? Or, like, what could you bring to the company?
Uh-huh.
How do you, like, make yourself sound good,
Yep.
but not, like, brag where people are like, oh, they're stuck up? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, you used that last turn at the end, suck up, so I'm going to get to that. So it's better to err on the I'm proud of my achievements. And a lot of times it's your tone, the way you come across, and your body language, on whether you're like a prima donna or you're like genuinely proud of what you have to accomplish.
Okay.
And you can brag all day about your accomplishments, and not to sound cocky, I think I could come up here all day and I could talk about everything I did, and if I did it the right way, you'd be like, wow, that was cool. And he's not an arrogant rat bastard, pardon me. So, I mean, you could if you did it the right way. So, and then the suck up is kind of different. That's when you're like, you look like you're the greatest boss of all time, and you must be amazing, and I can't believe you've led this team, and then you're like, let's suck up. But you can always compliment the company, like you've read their last press release. So you got to research the industry, them individually, and then ideally like a press release that they, hey, I read that you guys announced earnings, even a simple one like that, and you guys were able to increase your top line revenue, and that sounded really good. They're not going to quiz you like, what was our revenue? I mean, just the fact that you looked at the press release and that you knew one thing about it, that's all you need. You get in and get out. So you're not sucking up, but it's just the balance. Cool. Lisa Gates was texting me while we're in the middle of the session. My gosh, these kids. Okay, here's number 2. Hang on a second. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do, right? We're gonna do the same thing. And okay, now we're gonna roll reverse. So now you're the boss. Don't suck up. Okay, just nail it. And then so we're gonna reverse the roles. And here's the question. I'm not gonna give you as much time to think of an answer. These other guys got a long time. All right. You had to set a goal for yourself, and how did you achieve it? You guys ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3, go. Ask the question. Was that? Did that seem like too short a time? Who's selling past the close? You already got the job. There's a term called, don't sell past the close. Like you were trying to sell like a refrigerator, and you already bought it. I don't need to keep going on and on about the refrigerator. You're like, I want to buy it. Who knows when they say something that you don't like about it. And it's really hard to defrost, but it's worth it. And you're like, I know that. So once you nailed it, stop. You guys stopped early. I like that. I can't wait to hear what your two are. Let's start with you, as a matter of fact. You guys kind of stopped early, so you must have. Who was the boss and who was the?
I'm the boss.
Okay. Wow. He's got the job up here, so he looks confident too. I like the body language already. So what did he do well?
He did very well. He talked about his experience in community college, how he was taking classes and took time off, and he wasn't really into school. But then he set a goal, and he was like, okay, I'm going to transfer to SDSU and get my BA in sustainability. And he talked about how he was passionate about that. And now he got a leadership minor along the way. So he
Oh, nice.
Here we are, and he's graduating in like 2 weeks, and so he achieved his goal, and yeah,
Ooh,
he did really well.
I like
Very
it.
solid answer.
Oh, and I think a Starbucks tip on the board for that, don't you? You might want to share it, but I wouldn't get one free. Okay, let's see. We were trying to go this way, but I was so interested in your guys' answer. How about you guys?
I was the boss.
Okay, boss.
I think did a really good job. She mentioned her goal was completing the Microsoft challenge. That's what she talked about. So she talked about leadership minor and the Microsoft challenge.
Nice.
And, like the steps. She didn't go like too into detail, but like the steps of the team that she did to achieve it. So that was really cool.
And how did she achieve it? Did she summarize it quickly?
Yeah, she did. She summarized she just outlined the topics really quickly that we covered, which I thought was cool because it was specific enough where like as an interviewer I would want to know more about it to be like, oh, you worked on this topic and this topic, so you know about these things. So that was cool. And then she just talked about like we gave a presentation. We did a bunch of research. We gave a presentation. They really loved it. Our ideas, our solutions, but she didn't like go too into detail with that. So I think she did a good job.
Gotcha. So we're gonna give 1 card per round. So I mean, definitely worth it. But if you see me on the sidewalk, you say, "Hey, Coach Mike, I'm thirsty." Okay, I got you. All right. How about you two? Wait, we already did you two. That's right. Okay, sorry. How about back there? Who is the boss? All right, boss. You look so friendly as a boss. How did she do? She looks hungry, like she wants a job.
My partner talked about, it was more like related to like time management and scheduling. Like she had to move out of town and then she had to complete her work in like a time limit before that. And she did incorporate something from this class, which was like the scheduling part for like the Microsoft Challenge.
Oh, nice.
And overall, I feel like she spaced out like the STAR method, like at least better than me, because I didn't finish mine.
But it's not easy, and the thing is, so great job, and you guys sounds like you got the job. So you talked about the Microsoft Challenge and the leadership minor, all in, that's only 4 words, and you got that in there in the whopping minute and 20. I mean, I'm talking about, not going too long, but don't get nervous that like, God, I'm only halfway through my story and I gotta start talking faster, or, put too much heat on yourself. I mean, you gotta stay cool, right? This is conversational. And if you went too long on one question, and you know it, that's okay. Don't beat yourself. I'm not gonna get this job. Coach Mike said I'm not supposed to talk that long. Don't do that, right? So just know that like, there's gonna be another question and I'm gonna be more brief on that one. And then I'm gonna ask them like, you want more? Okay, how about next, you two over here? Yes. Boss, all right.
She murdered it. She talked about it through like in ARP 404 when we had to do like on-campus leadership. She put on, she was managing a team. She for Title IX did a 50th anniversary. Yeah, did a celebration for it, and that's big. She incorporated the leadership minor.
Cool. And then I think you guys are trying to do this. This is what you want to do also, right? Whoop. Weave in some of those. Yeah, we learned about, and this one, delegation. Yeah, sounds like you're hitting that. So don't forget all those. Those are all like skills. Like you actually, you actually did all those things. So to talk about those amazing skills is impressive. It's like, and trust me, there are not a lot of people. I mean, what other class did you guys learn about conflict management in all of your, maybe a psychology class, maybe. Any other classes in your 3 or 4 years that you've been here? This is like the only place, and this is like real world stuff. You guys got a major advantage over those other schools and other candidates. Okay, let's see. How are we doing on time? So we're done at 3:10, right? 3:15, okay. All right, we're doing pretty good. All right, let's do one more person then. Let's see. And we'll go around the horn. You guys, is it inappropriate to ask you guys? Okay. No. Yeah, I want to hear.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I was the boss in this scenario, and yeah, I thought you did well. I feel like there was an opportunity to maybe include a little more detail, like pertaining to specific goals that we worked towards in the answer to the question. Can't recall a specific example, but it's escaping me at the moment. But he did talk about like goals that were in terms of like building robotics, and so he weaved that in, and I thought that was really interesting and neat to hear about. I just would have liked to hear a few more details on like, was that project something that he worked on alone? Was he part of a larger team? But aside from that, I thought it went really well.
Ooh, nice. Good work. So the one thing you also want to keep in mind, and I think it's in one of the links that I'll send on this this training material, is that often you have to size up your interviewer because they come in different shapes, sizes, and personalities. And some want to talk a lot with you, and they are, lovely people, and others are a little more cut to the chase, possibly an engineer, possibly a boss that might be stressed, possibly. So you kind of have to size up the situation to figure out who you're talking to. And sometimes easy to do based on the environment around them. If you're in their office, they have tons of family pictures and whitewater rafting, and they're very active. You may want to talk about that. Wow, looks like you do a lot of camping or something. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. You guys probably know that, right? So try to size up the boss, and so this particular boss wanted to hear more detail. And so if you're building rapport with them, that is a good sign. If they're asking, they're talking a lot about the job and themselves, in their career path, that's a great sign. And technically the way they should be conducting the interview is that they should have you talking about 70% of the time. So this is the interview school, that I went to. It's like, as an interviewer, some interviewers are talking 70% of the time. That's usually a good sign because they're selling you and they're bragging about their world. And if you can ask them open-ended questions about like, how were you successful in this job? Or people that you've seen in my role that I'm interviewing for, what characteristics do they possess that make them successful, just out of curiosity? And that's a great end question, right? So then, if you can somehow get that question answered early, that's kind of the secret sauce for like what they're looking for. Or maybe in closing, you'll say, after you ask them that towards the end, you'll say, dependability is like the most important thing of all the people that have succeeded in this job. You just have to be dependable. And then as you're finishing up, you may say something, well, there's one thing I want you to know about me. You can count on me. Notice I didn't use the exact same word, but I did kind of the same meaning. Or you can even say it simply. It's like you said dependability earlier, and I just want to tell you, that is a hallmark of mine. I am very dependable, very responsible, very hungry for this job too. God, I need it. Forget that last part. But seriously, the parroting back what they think is really important is kind of a super cool way of going about it. All right, that was excellent. Okay, so here's an example. There you are. We're talking about an interesting project. This is how I like to really size up goals. It's like breaking down a big goal into bite-sized chunks. When just saying that alone means you know how to like execute plans and goals. So if someone said, how do you set big goals and how do you go about them? It's like, well, I set the big goal and then often I work backwards and I break it into bite-sized chunks. You guys know what SMART goal setting is. I'm sure you've heard this one before, right? And you don't have to use all the terms. So I look at like specific goals, they're measurable, they've got to be timely. I just kind of look at that in my goal setting. And then I got great support, wove in the leadership minor twice on that one. Whew, definitely got that job. Probably a starting bonus too. So, okay, let's do another one. Wait a second, Wait, does that? Oh, here we go. Okay, you guys ready for roll? So you're going back. So now you're back to boss, right? You were boss first. You're going back to that role, or you got the question. Ooh, a difficult customer. Okay, I don't want you guys too much to think about this. You guys ready? Ask the question, please, and go. Okay, and stop, please. And stop, please. All right. They have to tell you at least stop. Somebody still wants to talk. Okay. Thank you. There's the leadership minor at the end. Like, I'm not stopping until I get that leadership minor. I like that. And Drew seemed like he was going on a little bit there. Was he succinct? Did he get to succinct? All right, we're going to this end of the room over here. Okay, so who's the boss here? Did you sense that as your?
I'm actually his employee, so.
Oh, you can tell me later. No. I already know that you are. There's a genuine guy. So, no, not you. Let's talk about this candidate. How did the candidate do?
I was really impressed with the candidate, given the fact that I feel like she was able to talk a little bit about her work experience at like working in food service, understanding that the end goal is always that the customer is right, and then she wove in the leadership minor and some of the one of the biggest things is like being communicative and being having empathy. And I think that when she was able to put herself in the other customer's shoes by spending that money and getting the wrong drink, she was able to address the situation by giving them the right drink and compensation.
Nice.
On top of that, like a little gift card as well.
I like that.
For their inconvenience. So I think overall, she hit every part of the question and delivered a very concise answer.
Nice. Wow, you got all that in 90 seconds or less. Good job. I think you really appreciate your employee. Don't
Yes.
you? Okay, back here.
I was the boss. I think she did a really good job. She used an example from her old job at Home Depot where there was a uncomfortable situation with a customer, and she is like in a manager position there, so she had to step in and sort of like reiterate what like the cashier had already said, but from a higher up position, and gave like some alternative solutions as well that she offered to the individual to sort of appease both parties. So
Oh, nice, real world experience too, nice, I like it. Now, your answer was amazing, but I'm gonna give these guys the Starbucks card, because you need to share the Starbucks cards with your boss, because I saw her yawning during the interview process. Okay, so that's kind of complicated, but hopefully you guys know each other, and sorry to embarrass you on that, but I know you're a student athlete, and you got a lot going on, and you lived through my last talk, so thank you for that. And didn't yawn, by the way, on the last talk at all, or at least I didn't notice. So cool. Let's see, who has? Are we not called? Wow, let's go back around the horn. We've called on everybody, right? So how about over here?
Yeah. So she described the situation that she had during her internship. So I liked how she brought in her internship, because that's definitely some like work experience that she was talking about. But she did not mention the leadership minor, and she when you were like 10 seconds, she was like, oh my god. So yeah, that's the only thing, but I think like the leadership minor would have gone in really well with what you were talking about.
Yeah,
she was
the
dealing with a
internship,
difficult
right.
or like a difficult person, and so I think leadership skills that we learn here can definitely help with conflict. So I think that would have been.
Gotcha. Cool, cool. And I'm okay. You're about to add it in. If I would have given you 10 more seconds, for sure, right? Okay, Dr. Gates, if you're listening to this, she said for sure. Yeah. Yes.
I have a question. Can you give like different examples of how you would like implement the leadership minor in there, or like?
So in this particular case, let's see. Well, you know what I would do is, this is like the layout of all layouts. It's like in my leadership minor that I was really fortunate to complete, and it was just such a great experience. We focused part of our semester on conflict management. So we learned a lot about how to focus on the problem, the key elements of conflict management, and to resolve things peacefully and properly, and ideally to have a long-term relationship with the customer after that. Notice how I didn't go too deep into like what are the 12 points of conflict management. Let's not go there. Let's not have a debate on that, with the interviewer. But I wove in conflict management, leadership minor, and I learned a few things there. Now you guys did here, I'm sure, right? How you want to not make it personal. You want to focus on the solution, things like that, right? Within conflict management that ties to customer issues. Is that helpful?
That was
Good.
good.
So kind of on that same note, would it be, so could you even say like, oh, in XYZ situation, there was conflict that arose, and in my leadership minor, actually, we took a whole course on conflict management styles, and therefore I was able to use some of the skills that I learned there to combat the situation.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly like that. And by the way, there's no perfect like answer. I mean, both of those were good. They were both A's. And then you want to make it, your genuine chat.
Yeah.
And you can practice it. You can ask your roommate, your sister, your friend, yourself, your dog, like to help you practice. And I mean, we at our household, it's a little crazy. Like I would make my son go to one bedroom and I'd be in another in the kitchen, and then we'd be on a Zoom call, and I'd be doing like practice interviewing with them. And then my wife would be taking notes on what he did well or not. And we always had constructive criticism with love, so it wasn't that much help. But he's got 2 jobs so far, so he's doing something right. And he's not really that good at interviewing, so if he can do it, if I can do it, anyone can. So, all right, what do we got? We got one more. We might be a little ahead of time. We may actually, if we have extra time, we might have you guys create your own behavioral interview question. So, not that you need to get distracted, but that might be cool. But you can't ask that tough one. I'm not sure I got the answer with that. What was the word? Professional insecurity. Actually, I do have an answer for that, but we can get to that. All right, so, here's here's number 3. So, oh, see, I forgot. I actually added this in, the conflict management in my leadership minor. Not to make things bad worse. And then you kind of want like a kind of a happy ending to the story, without being too braggadocious to your world. It's like, and this customer, not only we resolved the problem, but they said they loved us, you know, whether they did a Yelp review or not. But she was very positive on our way out the door. Okay, so you guys can read that. Okie dokie. Let's go to number 4. It's a little similar to some of the other ones. And by the way, I took a couple of these I made up, and the other ones, wait, no, I didn't make up any of them. I took them from the list of most common behavioral interview questions. I made up some of the answers on my own, but the actual questions are like, these are the common ones. Okay, oh, wait a second, you can't be looking at it that close. Oh, jeez, it's almost cheating. All right, you guys ready to switch to the other side? Oh, you're already thinking. It's almost like getting answer questions to the test before it's delivered. Okay, are you guys ready for number 4? Okay, get ready and read it and go. And please stop. Please stop. There we go. Okay, so past the close. Oh, babbling brooks. A little bit. So these two in the back went from the shortest to the longest. When we're changing the game, we got the first job. Okay, so and here's one thing to remember. When you have your catalog of stories, and you may think they're getting stale or old. Like, you know, I had 3 interviews this week. I told the same story to, like, you know, Starbucks, to Amazon, and to XYZ. It's not getting old. They're not comparing notes, right? You're just getting better at that. So don't ever think that, like, I need something fresh. It's hard enough. Let's go with what you got. I mean, you keep getting it better if you're not happy with it. But if it's effective and you're comfortable with it, then indeed, you know, keep using it. So let's see, where were we? Did you guys? We did you twice so far?
No, we've only got them once.
We're going up here. I won't come back to you guys. So.
I was the boss.
The boss.
Yes.
Very kind boss. Did you feel a nice warm interview? Which, by the way, in leadership, you guys have to become expert interviewers. And you probably didn't have much time to practice that this year, did you? But there's an art and science to interviewing. And it's kind of fun to actually research that on your own, because then you're basically researching the same material that the interviewers are researching, and then you know what they're going to do. It's almost like a jujitsu move, right? So then you know, and then they go down that path, and you are prepared for that path. And then, by the way, if you're going to be a leader, you're going to have to interview. Well, not 1,000 times, but go ahead. How'd you do?
She did a great job. Well, she finished before the timer went off, which was like really good. She mentioned the leadership minor and conflict management skills she learned. She talked about how she's a mentor here at San Diego State, and how she had to like work with challenging situations of getting like students to show up, and then like kind of being a mediator between like the people like above her and the students, and like figuring out like times and stuff. So it was really good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I think that's worthy of the card. I know, first one out of the chute. Yeah, she's got energy. Probably don't need that if you can answer that quickly. Okay, let's go. Let's see. Did we ask you twice or just once? Okay. So who was the boss this time? Okay. How do you do?
I think it was really good. Gary said that he felt a lot more organized in that sense, and I could feel that. Not only did he go ahead and outline the leadership minor, what they learned as far as like conflict resolution, but they also demonstrated how they applied it to the situation in a way that benefited both parties. So it was really, really nice to see that coming together.
Wow.
It was very well done.
Nice. So got leadership minor and a skill that you developed during the leadership minor? Conflict resolution, conflict management? Guarantee you got the job. Did you give him the signing bonus?
Yes.
Very generous boss. I like that. I have a feeling you two will work very well together. Is that true? I mean, you got to appreciate someone who believes in you. Let's go back there to you two.
She talked about how when she had some employees that were student assistants.
That were, I'm sorry, you said?
Student assistants.
Oh, okay.
And they just weren't meeting the deadlines or doing anything, so she had to sit on the side, make a plan that she learned in her leadership minor, and tell them what needs to go out.
Ooh, nice. So it was leadership minor, planning, conflict management, communication skills. I mean, you guys tell me, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. These are like really neat skills that not everybody has. And you have to use them, and you have to be ready. Oh my gosh, you guys are gonna be so employable. It's amazing. Okay, let's, and by the way, if I had more gift cards, I'd lay those things out faster than you can imagine. How about you guys?
So my partner, was in your intern at police department, right? Yeah, okay. And then, she had to work with, it was like a Microsoft program, but she was a little bit nervous on not knowing how to do it, but then, she at least did I guess research on how to do it. And well, at the end, I had to kind of just try to specify a little bit more on how incorporate a leadership mind, just a little reminder. But she talked she incorporated that with the presentation and collaboration skills with her workers and her bosses.
Oh, neat. Oh, I love all that, including, you said you admitted that you were a little bit nervous on a task?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect, because that's authenticity, right? So when you show a bit of vulnerability, without I was so nervous I couldn't show up to work, and that'd be too much. But I was nervous at first when I approached the situation. But then I found that I did this, that did this. That means you showed some, real authentic vulnerability, which is neat. Just don't go overboard on that. But it's cool because you appreciated it, right? So she was being honest with you. Also, when you show a sliver of vulnerability like that, it can be effective. Just be careful, it's a sliver, not the whole thing. And then these are other things that I'm nervous about. None of that. Just what happened in the real world there. So what do you guys think about creating your own behavioral interview question? Not the last boss, but the person who was just a candidate. Jot one down, or just jot it down, or think of it, or whatever you want to do. I'll give you a minute because you're, future leaders. You're going to be interviewing, and then think of one. And then, worst case, if you're totally stuck, use one of the four.
Yeah,
okay. Let's go over to this side. Nice. Okay, now that you're awake, you're the boss, right?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Is it a hard question?
I tried to make it not super hard, but also not just a cop-out. So I asked her to think of a time when she had conflict with a coworker or someone that she worked with and how she went about it. And I thought she had a good example. It wasn't necessarily face-to-face confrontational, but she had gotten a promotion over people that had been there for longer than her. And so there was kind of gossiping and rude comments behind her back, and she decided to, instead of confronting them face-to-face, she just sort of knew that she deserved the position and decided to not confront them or anything, and just have the confidence that she deserved the job, and the rumors didn't affect her or anything like that.
Wow.
So
Sounds like a great way of handling it, so congratulations to that. Maybe you're running Home Depot sometime soon, if you want to. Maybe the competitor loves if they don't love you. Did you have a chance to weave in any leadership minor? It sounds like you were focused on the problem, which is good, but obviously you were thinking hard, right? So you were concentrating. Someone asked earlier, Morgan asked, how do you take time possibly to answer a question, and can you, when you say something like, hey, that's a good question, and can I have a minute to think about it? You can't say that, but you can say, that's a good question, and when I think back about my time at the restaurant, that's a good question when I think about my leadership minor at San Diego State and my semesters I had there. And as I'm saying that, right, that's a good 15 seconds almost. You can be thinking of your answer there. So you can do that as the filler, but not much more than that. So how about you two in the back, you little efficiency experts?
Yeah, so I asked Heather about a time that she failed or made a mistake and how she benefited from that. And she had a great answer about a situation where she was just wasn't fully prepared at the moment and kind of learned to be able to pivot and adapt and be resilient to situations where, you know, the unexpected thing might happen and kind of to have a backup plan.
Nice.
And she wove in like the concepts of, yeah, just like pivoting and resilience we've talked about in the minor, and also the situation specifically was like tutoring the foster youth that we've done in this minor as well.
Oh, how neat is that? Good job, good job. You got the job, I think. Very good. You impressed the boss, that's for sure. So, nice work. How about you two?
Who are you guys? Sorry.
What's that?
Are you asking the interviewer?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the interviewer.
So I asked, what's one situation in your academic or professional career that you would go back and handle differently?
Good question. You guys are good interviewers.
Yeah, great question. And he talked about how coming into San Diego State in the height of the pandemic and transitioning from a smaller community college to a university that has 100,000 applicants and 36,000 students, and how needing to take that initiative upon yourself to go to your counselors and set that for yourself, set that up for yourself, set yourself up for success rather than waiting for it to sort of happen.
Awesome.
I think you talked about the leadership minor, but I cannot. It was so long ago. I can't remember.
Yeah, sometimes the interviewers, they can't always remember everything. So that's another reason why you want to keep it short, right? You tell them like a super long story, they're like, I can't remember. Where did this story start? Where was he going with this? Where was he going with this? Yes.
I have a question. Would you recommend like how, when you gave an example earlier, when you said, oh, like for my leadership minor, do you recommend for us to say it at the beginning?
Of the answer?
Of the answer.
It's
or
kind
like
of your call. It's kind of your call. Whatever you think flows. You got to be as comfortable as you want. Sometimes it's good at the beginning because they're paying attention sometimes more at the beginning. If you wove it at the very end, they're like, okay, I got the next question, or I got 4 more questions. When is this one gonna end? So I'd say the beginning or middle. Probably not say it to the end. Yes.
One of my strategies, I think, for including that leadership minor into my essay or into my response was like, my response had nothing really to do with the leadership minor, but I did highlight like some techniques and strategies that we cover in the class. So what I did was, like, I went over, okay, I had to lead myself, I had to take initiative, I had to make sure that I'm not just bringing myself up, but my community too, and these are things that I'm incorporating in the leadership minor this semester.
Awesome.
So that's how it's kind of like approaching that.
Okay, I got a quick question for you guys. So, first hand up, tell me what this means. Oh.
Constructive criticism with love.
Nice. The last card. Can you remember that? All right. So remember that when you're giving feedback to your friends, your peer group, your employees, your mom and dad, whoever, make it the tone and the approach. Now, can you do me one more favor? Last time you filled out a quick little survey, 1 to 5. Any comments is appreciated. I'm trying to get better and better. All right.